Hey everybody, it's Josie here. Or aka Noisy Neutron. You can call me whatever you want. Um, I've gotten a lot of requests on how to edit images or how I edit images more precisely. I've gotten questions like whether or not what actions I use or whether I use them or not and stuff. My process or how do you do this? It looks so real and stuff. Well, I'm gonna show you right now in this little itty crappy video that I'm making. Um, I don't use actions. I just use brushes. I'm very proficient in Photoshop, and I might skip a few details here and now and then. So I really suggest you know what Photoshop is and how it works. And a lot of Mac users have Photoshop because Macs are nice and stuff. Well, I have it on PC. I'm on PC, by the way. I would show you shortcut keys and everything, but you guys all have different computers and different settings, so I wouldn't bother with that. First things first. Make sure you have a nice image to edit. Sometimes you end up with all these screen caps and it's like random and people can tell if you're paying attention to what you're taking a picture of or not. I usually pay attention. As an art student, they nag you about composition, the way the photo looks and all that stuff. So I'll get into them. Make sure you know your rule of thirds and stuff like that. Make sure that you're taking a nice picture. You don't have to do whatever you want, but if you really want something really pretty and be like, oh, I'm gonna make pretty pictures, then at least take a nice picture in the game to begin with. I usually have my settings on high, um, really high. My game hates me, and so does my computer, but I have it on high. Um, I don't use HQ mod. I only use the HQ mod on Sims pictures, and even then, I don't usually use it because I hear if you use it a lot, it's bad for your computer and your graphics card, and you're killing it slowly. I have a lighting mod. You don't have to get it. This is all optional, of course. You can do whatever you want with your game, but if some of you want the same lighting mod that I use one by Mahomundo and MTS. It's a mixture of Simo Money's lighting mod and Latoya Sims, I think, the Blue Dream lighting mod, and makes your sky nice and pretty blue, and not and that changes the ugly purple lighting system that EA has made for us. I mean, yeah, the guys who make the game. Is it Maxis or EA? I never can tell. They always switch. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much the settings that I have it on. Take the picture nice and nice and nice. Makes it nice. All nice and pretty. I don't know. Sorry. I just got up. Um, what was I saying? Very bad at this. Very bad at this. What are we talking about? Right. Editing. Okay. There are many tools on Photoshop. Many tools. You could be using Photoshop for 20 years and you'll find something new to do. But I'm just going to show you the overall things that I use. I will be using, for this image, I will be using the brush tool. This is my baby right here, the brush tool. This is my baby. You can change the size to whatever you want. Usually I have it like around 400, although oddly enough, I always have it on the number of the beast. I don't know, it's like the perfect size for my images. Some images of the spawn of the devil. But no, not really. I usually get freaked out when I have it that size. I don't know, I'm superstitious that way. Always have the hardness setting to 0. Right here. 0. Why? Because it prevents you from having this really weird circle. And instead, it's more of a not so circle, it's like feathery, and you can change the size to whatever you want and it won't be obvious. I have 2 blending modes. This brush blending modes here, right there. Always have it on overlay or multiply. Optionally, usually sometimes normal for white, for like light and stuff. Everything else, I don't touch. You can touch it, but I'm not going to. You can play with it. It's fun. Opacity. Always have it no more than 20. Why? Because you want smooth lighting, not really weird, overly edited looking stuff. Flow. I always have it around 60 or 70. Sometimes I change it. I don't really care, but I have to have it somewhere around there. It adds flow, and then it prevents you from having like really hard edges on your brush. So 60. You can use that too. It's airbrush. It's all nice and soft. So pretty much your brush setting, make sure it's a soft brush, a really soft brush. That way you have soft, smooth lighting. Another thing that I use for realism is the blur tool and the sharpen tool. I do not use the filters. Why? Because it edits the entire image, and that is not something I want. I'm very specific with what I want, so I use brushes. You can use a tablet. I don't use mine. I have one, but I don't use it because I'm really good at controlling my hand. My hand-eye coordination is pretty good, so I don't really use it. You could use this gradient tool. It's good for lighting. I don't use it anymore. I don't know why, but you can use it. I'm not using it today, though, so let's not think about it then. Alright, and then here's Topaz. Topaz Clean. Topaz Clean. You have to pay for this. Well, you quote-unquote have to pay for this. I quote-unquote did not. Because, well, it's a pirate's left from me. I still have the files to it too, so if you download it and you want the serial codes, I can, I suppose, give them to you, but let's keep that shush, because I don't want to get in trouble. Forget I said anything. Really, forget I said anything. But yeah, Topaz Labs. You have it, awesome. I will show you how to use Topaz the right way, or at least my way. But if you don't have that, the blur and the sharpen tool. You can blur things you don't like, smooth them out, and then you can sharpen things you want to be focused on. I'm still going to use this because combination of Topaz and those tools is perfection, at least in my standards. Another thing, there are two ways to edit the colors and the brightness and the contrast, or the levels. Of some of you use that. I don't, because brightness and contrast and selective color do the same thing. But if you do, you can use this little thing here and go here, or you can use the adjustment layer. And this is pretty awesome. Why? Because it edits the image without actually editing the original image. It adds a layer and gives you the effect of changing the image without actually changing it. For instance, let's do the brightness and contrast first. This is what I usually do. Since I know what I'm doing half the time, I just do the normal way, but you want to do it this way because you are playing with Photoshop. Playing with Photoshop is your friend. So, brightness and contrast. It edits it. Let's say, and this is pretty cool, I'll tell you why, because let's say, for instance, you begin with this, and you're like, oh, that looks so pretty, I want to save that, and you save it, but then, like, 20 minutes later, or whenever you're like doing something, and you're like, later on in the process, you're like, wait a minute, this is ugly as hell, let me change it. And you can change it. You change it. I usually, well, if we're focusing on what I do, I'll usually have the brightness pretty low, and the contrast is a little bit high, but not super duper high, because then it looks funky to me. So yeah, save it. And then notice how you can always revert back to the original by just one click. You can also delete it if you don't like it, or if you don't use that effect at all. You can also use it with other things, and all these effects here are effects that are here with, make sure you select the right layer, right here. So yeah, that's brightness and contrast. That is the first thing I do usually when I edit my photo, by the way. Now to Topaz. Topaz is a filter. Filters affect the original image. You are playing with Photoshop right now. You don't want to change the way the image looks. So duplicate it. You can also skip this because some of you don't have Topaz. I do. So you guys want to know my process, so I will show you my process. Topaz. Topaz Labs. Topaz Clean. I already have my settings saved, but I will show you what my settings are. My settings are, everything is down to nothing except for the middle part. The edges settings. I have my accent set to 1, my radius set to 1.36, and my sharpness set to 0.6. You can play with it if you want. Settings, whatever, you know. I know a lot of you ladies already have Topaz Labs, and I mean ladies because a lot of people at BPS, Black Pearl Sims, the place where I used to be, they all pretty much have this filter thing. But I have it to Softy because Softy is nice. It smooths out your edges, but it doesn't give you that overly sharp look, and everything is not incredibly distorted into little swirls. I know some of people like they overdo the accent and see how it like messes up the way something looks. See, it changes. So let's keep it on 1. So there you go. It's all nice and smooth. You can see a little bit of difference. It's a little bit smoother. Okay, now again, make sure you duplicate your layer and make sure you are on that layer. So probably good to lock it, but for some reason I can't. Just make sure you don't use this one, because then you're like, crap, I messed up, and you can't change it. And so duplicate. Now, I do not use sharpen until the very end because I like my buddy little blur tool here. So we blur. Keep perception in mind, keep in depth. Also keep in mind what you want people to focus on the image. I want people to focus on trees. I want people to focus on the house. The closest part of the house. So I will blur whatever is in the distance and whatever is in the foreground, like extreme foreground. Like if something's really close to you, if you notice, like cover your eye, you look at something and then everything closer to you kind of blurs, and the thing you focus on is focused, but then stuff in the far background as well is like not focused. It's all blurry. It's just common perception concept. So yeah, whatever's closest and whatever's farthest should be blurred if you're gonna blur anything. And so that's how it works. So what's the next thing I usually do? Lighting, of course, the big important part of my editing. Lighting, of course. Again, keep in mind your image, what you want. The lighting is obviously right here, and then you see some sunlight breaking in here. So wherever the sun is gonna hit is where you want it to be the lightest. Alright, so let's have this set to overlay, and make sure your opacity is not 2, because you won't see much changes there. There we go. Set at 19. There you go. Brightness. Keep in mind the brightest part will be the parts that are getting hit by the sun. See? I didn't even do that much. Don't press too hard though, because you'll get like craziness, brightness, and we don't really want it. For white colors or light colors, or usually setting a tone colors, you want to set it to overlay. Don't set the settings on opacity too high, because then you're just going to end up with a bunch of white, and you don't want that. You want to edit slightly. So lower settings means you have better control over what you do with the brushes. For darker colors, you want to set it to multiply. You can set it to overlay, but it really just makes everything really weird because it doesn't actually affect all the color. With multiply, it affects all the colors. With overlay, it only affects colors that are closest to what color you're using on your brush. So with multiply, you can edit the entire image, all the colors at one point. And of course, keep in mind the lighting, of course. Keep in mind the lighting. Changing the brush, that's too small. Changing the brush size. You don't have to like pay attention to like all the edges. You can do that, but that's over editing. I mean, if you want to do that, it's fine. But I don't over edit unless I really want to. But I usually never do. Sometimes you can though. Anyways, there you go. Lighting. Now you have a little bit more realistic lighting. Very realistic lighting. So you like this. Let's say you don't like the brightness and the contrast, so you edit it a little bit more. See, you can change it, like I said earlier. But I'm not gonna do that. I like my lighting. Alright. This part is optional, just like the Topaz Labs. I like to edit the overall lighting color to set the tone to the image. Right now you have pretty much all the colors that the game originally gave you, but if you want to add a little bit different, like hue, add a little bit more color, you can. You can use one of two things. You can use color balance, or you can use selective color. And let's do this with the adjustment layer, because you guys don't want to make mistakes. You want to change it to your own way. Alright, I'm gonna do selective color. This is my baby here. This is what I do. Don't change any of these. You don't need to. I mean, from magenta to red, you don't need to change anything. It's really the focus is right here. Because you want to change the lighting, you don't actually want to change the colors of the image. Because then people be like asking, oh, where'd you get that recolor? And then you're like, oh, I just edited that in there. And it's like disappointing. And I avoid that usually. So just edit the lighting. Neutral. Neutral is the one that's going to be affected the most. It's going to affect most of the color, because if you turn this into a black and white image, you're going to see that it's a bunch of gray and not a bunch of black and not a bunch of white. It's going to be a lot of gray. So if you change it, you see it really does change like all the color of the image. And if you want like a colder, so you have this the color way. Blue color is cold. Red color is warm. I don't want either. Well, no, I do want warm. So we're gonna go more towards the warmer colors. So less blue and more red. There is no red here, but magenta and yellow usually indicate the color red. So yellow. Yellow's the warmest color here. So you just change it to be a little yellow and maybe a little bit of magenta, so that it could blend well with the teal colors on the image. Blacks. Not well, blacks. But there's shade, so it will be affected by this one. I like to add, if you want to like adjust the levels of the image, usually by making this darker, you adjust a little. It's pretty cool though, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, I usually don't touch that though. So the less yellow you get, the more blue you get. And I kind of like that. It's kind of nice contrast, if you ask me. And then you add a little bit more teal to match with the roof and stuff and the green parts of the image. So there you go. You have this. You can edit the whites. All it really does is just make things brighter that is supposed to be white. And then if you don't like the white, you add the yellow and all that stuff. So, okay, I'll do the white too, I guess. There you go. And notice the big difference between changing the color. I feel it kind of adds more unison to everything in the image. Like for instance, this was the only yellow thing in the image, and now that I've added a little bit more yellow lighting, it blends better with everything in the picture, and helps with more composition. It makes everything look nice together. Oh right, sharpen. I have not done sharpen yet. Make sure you only edit the duplicate. Look how different everything looks. Oh, gee. Okay. I was supposed to do that later. Oh well. Now we can sharpen the image, I suppose. Wait, no, don't sharpen yet. Well, you can sharpen now, but I usually wait until I resize the image, which is what I'm gonna do now. Settings. The strength should not be high. Look what happens if you have it very high. That happens. Do you want that? I don't want that at all. So have the settings low, just to add a little bit more pop to the image. Everything else is blurred, so sharpening this kind of gives it that little standing out little thing to it. It stands out better. There you go. That's what I mean. And then after that, this is optional, obviously. I like it because it adds drama. But yeah, it's the little black bars, people. The little black bars. I'm sorry, Hillary. Simply Kitsch, Yuxi, Marin. I don't know. You guys make really dramatic images when you add those black bars. So yay! I'm gonna copy you guys. It's really awesome, and it's addicting too. You just add it to everything. It's so awesome. Anyways, I wanna make it brighter. Have a bright little sunset. There we go. And then usually we're done. We're done with this. But look how different it looks from the original image. That's how different it looks. And then change that. OMG, you have a different image. It looks totally different, doesn't it? But still, it looks a little bit more realistic. It looks nice. And, you know, you could just, you know, do the whole, just add the brightness and contrast, and then just sharpen the damn thing. And you have a regular image. And you know what? I don't mind this kind of imaging either. It's a mess, if you ask me. So if you want to keep doing that, go ahead. I like it. I like the detail that it has. And it gives that really Max's Match look to it. So, yeah. But no, I stick to my over-edits, my blurriness, and my beautiful lighting. So yeah, this is how I edit the photo. At least a basis of it. I'm probably gonna make a couple more depending on like the type of photo. Like for instance, how to edit a sim photo or how to edit a night photo. I'll probably make one of those in the future. Probably being that I'm very lazy and I procrastinate a ton. So yeah, thanks for watching and thanks for putting up for my talking so far. So here you go. There you go. Now you know, 'cause it's Josie's tutorial thingy. Bye.